A Black Friday quiz, which is better? 1, paying $349 for a 1-month all access, or 2, paying $244.30 for 1 month all access. The day after Thanksgiving, we want to continue giving thanks by giving all of our customers 30% off anything priced at $149 or more. A Black Friday sale was always a once-a-year chance to buy something at big discount, and this is it. Even better, we are running this promotion Black Friday through the end of Cyber Monday and making coupon code THANKS30 have unlimited uses. Whether it's a single sport package, a 30-day all access, a full season of college hoops, or a full 12 months from your favorite handicapper, you will save 30% with coupon THANKS30. You can fill your goodie bag as many times as you want until the clock strikes midnight on Monday.
Hey guys, welcome in. Happy Friday to you. I hope your Thanksgiving was a safe and profitable one at that, as we are getting ready for Week 13, Rivalry Week, the final week of the regular college football season. And boy, we got some great games here in store. Not only a few today, but plenty tomorrow on Saturday. And we are going to break down a few of these games with three of the finest. That is right. WagerTalk.com. You will find Adam Trigger, Red Hot, Rob Veno, as well as Dave Cokin here, guys. And should be a great final week to the regular season here, college football. Trig, how was your Thanksgiving? What's going on? I know you remained red hot. College hoops, college football as well. What do you got locked and loaded for us here at WagerTalk?
Yeah, well, Thanksgiving went good. I had the Raiders as a 5%, so that was good. Mississippi State lost, so I split on Thanksgiving. But myself, Chris Thurston, and Pat Wall are through to this weekend for Circus Survivor. There's 40 people left. So nice. That was like the highlight of Thanksgiving for me. But yeah, a 10-3 run. Everything's going good, and I've got a couple plays up for today.
All right. Find them, guys, WagerTalk.com, as well as Rob Veno. Robert, happy Thanksgiving. What do you got locked and loaded for us here?
We had college football locked and loaded, Joe. 5% play for tomorrow, Saturday. Been up since, I don't know, I think we got that one up on Tuesday afternoon. So 5% are up there, as well as a 4% best bet. There are a couple of remaining games today in college football still available at WagerTalk.com. So you can pick it all up right there. Once again, WagerTalk.com.
Can't go wrong, guys. Speaking of 5% plays, Dave Cokin, NFL 5% are up, locked and loaded at WagerTalk.com. Remains a good NFL season for you, Dave. What else you got? Anything NHL ready, locked and loaded as well?
Yeah, NFL's been really good lately. 9-2-1 the last 3 weeks. So if you're going to go 5%, you go where you're hot. And I'm hot in the NFL, not so in the colleges. So I went big in the NFL. That plays up now along with a free play, which I think is actually a really good play. So I'm only playing 2 NFL games this week, but I think they're both really strong sides. So you can get the free play right now on my WagerTalk homepage, wt.buzz/DC. 1 NHL play tonight. A few college basketball games today. Doing okay so far in college hoops. And college football, it's Murphy's Law this season. It just for me. I know a lot of guys are doing well. I'm not. I had Kansas State this afternoon. I don't know how I lost the game. Well, I know how I lost the game. Kansas State decided to call 2 of the dumbest 4th down calls. It just drives me. I'll just go off on a tangent for 1 second. How do you not practice on 4th down and less than a yard? How do you not practice having a quarterback line up under center and just going power up the middle against a team that can't stop the run? Twice on 4th down and less than a yard in the 4th quarter, they run shotgun. Once a wildcat to a guy who's like 2'6", and he gets stopped. And then to the quarterback, and he gets stopped. They gave away the game. That's terrible coaching, and it's something to mark down for the future with Kansas State. I mean, the guy's done a good job getting them back to respectability, but I don't think he's very good in terms of the overall picture, and I don't think Kansas State's going to be any more than just middle of the pack out of this coach. He's just not good enough. Okay, that's it. I'm done.
All right, that's a lot of solid points in that as well. So why don't we start off, guys? One of our rivalry week games here. Let's take a look at the Governor's Cup here, Robert. Throw it out for us. How about Louisville taking on Kentucky on Saturday? And, of course, this opens up as Louisville, a small favorite, -1, 56.5 as a total, as rumors continue to fly around where is Mark Stoops going to coach next year. Is it LSU? Is it Florida? Is it back in Kentucky? But Louisville, in the meantime, offered that drubbing of Duke there last week, where Malik Cunningham looks unstoppable, but it was Duke. So talk to me here, Trig. What do you think? You worried about Kentucky being focused with all these rumors around Stoops, or you think they're ready to go against Louisville?
Well, I was going to say it's one thing to look good against Duke and Syracuse, but prior to that, Louisville had lost 4 or 5, and Louisville's really been like a fade for me all season. So I'm not really interested in getting involved with Louisville here. I'd like to find a way to take Kentucky, and now that it's up to 3, it's definitely possible. I mean, that's the way I'm leaning. They're starting to get it going offensively. They can run the ball. Chris Rodriguez is an awesome back, one of the best in the country. And Kentucky's converting at really an elite percentage on third down, which is, something that another thing that, leads me to believe that they can keep Louisville's defense on the field. I think Kentucky's defense is better. Kentucky has to stop turning the ball over. The turnovers for Kentucky have been ridiculous, really, since the Mississippi State game. But last week in particular, I think that may have been a little bit of a lack of focus. Kentucky's played Vanderbilt and New Mexico State the last couple weeks, so not exactly opponents you're going to get up for. I do think Kentucky will be up for this game here. Now that it's 3, definite lean Kentucky. Would not back Louisville in this spot, but it probably won't make my card.
All right, not big on backing Louisville, but what do you think here, Rob? You leaning one way or the other on these two?
Yeah, I think I'm going to lean more towards the total in this one, Joe. But just to repeat or reiterate what you and Adam both just said, the last 2 weeks for both of these teams have looked impressive offensively. I mean, UK's rolled up 97 points. I mean, 31-3 at halftime versus Vanderbilt. Then they laid down. Second half, they let off the gas. And then 56-16 last week against New Mexico State. But those are cakewalk games, as were the 2 for Louisville, Duke and Syracuse. So hard to make much out of that. What I went to first was to see how these 2 teams did against really good dual threat quarterbacks, because they'll both be facing one here. In the case of Kentucky, they've only seen one, really. It was Tennessee's Hendon Hooker, and Hendon Hooker lit them up 15 of 20, 316 yards, 4 TDs, no interceptions. Tennessee only ran 47 plays in that entire game, and they got 461 total yards, almost 10 a pop. In that one instance, did give Kentucky trouble, which would be good for Malik Cunningham in this particular game. In the Louisville side, you have to go all the way back to week 1 when they played Ole Miss and faced Matt Corral. Matt Corral, 22 of 32, 381 in that game. 1 touchdown, no interceptions. They have faced a lot of good quarterbacks since, because the ACC is loaded with them, but not necessarily dual threats. Brennan Armstrong did light them up. Sam Hartman did light them up. Just about everybody has lit this team up that could score. In fact, if you look at Louisville, teams that they held under 28 points this year, those teams are Eastern Kentucky, Boston College, when Dennis Grosel was quarterback, Syracuse, and Duke. Otherwise, everybody gets 28 or more against them. So, as Adam pointed out, Louisville might be the team that is perceived to be more dynamic, more offensively prolific. But Kentucky, with Rodriguez at running back, with Wan'Dale Robinson at wide receiver, and Will Levis running the show, pretty dynamic as well. So I think both of that matches up pretty well. I'll say this about Kentucky. Before those 2 cakewalk games that they played, they'd given up over 400 yards to 4 straight opponents out of the SEC. So their defense might be perceived to be a little better than it really is as well. They could have used part of New Mexico State week last week to get ready for this one. I'm sure they mixed in a little Louisville preparation for this game. I see this number at 57, and then I look at series history, Joe, and this is really what sent me over the top here to play over. The last 6 games in this series, here's your totals: 58, 66, 61, 79, 62, and 84. The last 6 years, every one of those games is over what we're asked to lay here, 57. So I think the offenses are good enough to get us there, and the defenses are poor enough to get us there. I'll go over 57.
Yeah, he's got a point there, Dave. There are been an awful lot of points here. I mean, things were going so well for Kentucky until they met Georgia. And then that was the end of that. 5-0, and then things started to go downhill. You leaning one way or the other with these two teams?
Not really. I think it's a real close game. I think there might be a little more incentive on the Louisville side. They didn't play last year. But this is a rivalry where the last couple of times they met, I mean, Kentucky just absolutely beat the snot out of Louisville. And I think the Cardinals will look at this as a really big game. And it's at home, which I think is an advantage. The problem I have with it, and I think Louisville might actually be a little better team than Kentucky. The problem I have with it is I'm just not laying points with an ACC team against an SEC team. It's about what it comes down to. The ACC is not good this year. The perennial powerhouse is Clemson, and they're way down. And one of the things I've had in my notes from mid-season is when bowl season comes around, fade the ACC. It's just not a very good conference this year. And I think clearly it depends on what the matchups are going to come down to in the bowl season. But this could be a conference where I'm looking to go against them because there just aren't any really good teams. It's good teams. Wake Forest is a good team. North Carolina State's a good team. North Carolina, etc. But there's no real standouts. And the conference as a whole is weak. The SEC is a lot better. So I really don't know what to do with this game. I think the emotional edge might lay on the Louisville side. I'm just not going to lay points with them. It'd be a guess on the Cardinals, and that's about it.
Okay. Yes, it is there, guys. We'll move on to, how about Paul Bunyan's axe? There, let's take a look at that one, Robert. Yep, Wisconsin taking on Minnesota in this one, and 6.5 is an opening number for Wisconsin as a favorite. 38.5 low total in this one. 4:00 there on Saturday, and Wisconsin. They can guarantee themselves a berth in a Big Ten title game here with a win against Minnesota. No matter what Iowa does today, they hold the tiebreaker there, Rob Veno. So, needless to say, a lot on the line for this Wisconsin team. What do you think?
Yeah, it's hard to tell what to think in this game, Joe, because they are mirror images of each other. Everything that Minnesota does well, Wisconsin probably does the same exact things better. You can really boil this whole thing down to who can run on the other team's defense, because passing is a secondary thought to both of these teams as far as winning a game for your team. I do think, where that said, that Wisconsin has better wide receiving options, better tight end options than does Minnesota when you group the whole bunch together. But that's not exactly a reason to run out and lay 6.5 with Wisconsin. Minnesota's season really can be defined by how well they run the football. In games where they've run the football for 4.8 yards a carry or better, they've won them all. In games where they've run for 3.7 or less, haven't won any of them. Wisconsin, unfortunately, holds teams to 66.5 yards a game and 2.2 per carry. So, again, Wisconsin does everything Minnesota does well, except Wisconsin does it better. Wisconsin's even better ATS-wise when you compare Minnesota at home, 2-3-1 against the spread this year, and Wisconsin in true road games, 3-0 against the number, all against Big Ten teams. Not exactly the cream of the crop out of the Big Ten, because they were Illinois, Rutgers, and Purdue, but still a 3-0 nonetheless. You mentioned the incentive to win, which would be winning the West and getting a shot at Ohio State. Certainly they would welcome that. I don't really have a lot here, Joe, because I didn't play the game. I think if I had to, I would just lean with the better team. I know PJ Fleck is going to have his team extremely motivated. And 2 years ago, Minnesota pulled this upset right here, and they were getting more points than this. I think they were getting, double digits in that game, and they won straight up. So they're definitely capable. Turnovers could play a big role. Just don't have a lot of opinion on this one. But I think if I had to, because Wisconsin's been so hot, down the stretch, I'd probably lean that way.
So they did get a bit of good news, Dave. Minnesota did with Muhammad Abraham announcing he'll be back next year, which is great. I mean, that's good news. They certainly could have used him here after he got hurt early. But, man, I keep going back to Braylon Allen. And this kid is an absolute beast for Wisconsin. And he's just a great running back for a freshman, big kid here, somebody that can go on the road and kind of take over a game here. Are you leaning one way or the other with these two?
No, I think it's a good number. I think Wisconsin's the better team. They've got more to play for. It's in the number. Rob explained the matchup already, so there's no need to go through that again. I think Wisconsin wins the game. I'm not going to lay 7. Minnesota's entirely capable of playing with them. And that's the thing. When two teams are mirror images of one another, they kind of know what's going to be happening. So there's not going to be a lot of surprises here either way. I think it's going to be a real battle. I think Wisconsin will win the game, but you're not going to see me laying 7.
Yeah, it's tough to. Is it you only can look under here, Trig? I mean, it's not a lot of points to begin with, 38.5, 39. But I don't know. You're holding out hope for a lot of scoring in this one?
Well, I don't bet many totals in football, so you're certainly not going to see me come in and take it under 38.5. Although I wouldn't be surprised if that's where it ends up. But I kind of feel like Wisconsin's going to grind out a win here. They're the better team. The question is, can they grind out a 7-point win, 7 or more? And that's where I kind of agree with Dave. The number seems pretty good. Wisconsin, excellent defense, number 1 in the Big Ten. They have the second in pass defense. They have the second. They're second in the nation in total D. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see both quarterbacks have to make plays to win, and I don't really want to be on either of them because I don't want to lay it with Wisconsin and have to have Mertz win a game for me because both run defenses are pretty good. So yeah, I'm staying out of this one. The slightest of leans toward Wisconsin because I do think they're the better team.
All right, dude, thinking Wisconsin might be the way to lean. Well, all right, let's go to the Civil War if we can here, Robert. Let's check it out. Yep, Oregon State taking on Oregon here on Saturday. This is 12 Eastern time, in fact, a little early start there. The Ducks, what can we say here? Kind of an impossible spot here, Dave, that the letdown and knocking themselves out there. Oregon State still has a shot at, a Pac-12 conference championship game. So it's hard to look at Oregon here in this letdown situation. What do you think?
Well, you can never count on you don't know if a team's going to let down or not. The spot indicates they will, though. So to me, Oregon State's the only side to look at here. I think the number, based on the talent differential, the power ratings, it's about where it should be. It might even be a shade low because of the obvious adjustment. The problem is it's just such a bad loss for Oregon. If they had come out of that game feeling good about themselves in some way, you could say, well, they'll be able to get fired up here. It is a big rivalry matchup. And, it's not like they played badly. But they did play badly. They got absolutely killed in that game last week. And that, to me, makes it a more difficult spot for Oregon State. For Oregon, I should say. I know that the popular theory might be, well, if they'd have lost a tough game, they'd be hanging their heads and have trouble regrouping. I think it's tougher when a team just gets the living snot knocked out of it, which they did last week. Oregon just got destroyed in that game. So you wonder about their confidence level. You wonder about their motivation because, quite frankly, they're not playing for a whole lot here. They were in the playoffs if they won out. Now they've got no shot whatsoever at that. Oregon State has always been the other team in this rivalry. And it's a bigger game. It's always a bigger game for them than it is for Oregon. Oregon, look, I know the Pac-12 well enough, and I know the area well enough to tell you this: Oregon's biggest game isn't Oregon State; it's Washington. That's their real main rival, and they accomplished that objective a few weeks ago when they just destroyed the Huskies in that game. I don't see how Oregon's going to be mentally prepped for this game. So even though they're better than Oregon State, and they can take away the Oregon State run, which if they do so makes things difficult for the Beavers. I got to side with the team that I think wants it a lot more here, and that's Oregon State. Give me the points.
All right, going to Oregon State and the points here. It's interesting, Adam, because December 3rd is the Pac-12 championship. We know who's in that, Utah. And if Oregon wins this game, it's revenge spot for them there. But do you trust them to be able to do it here at Oregon State?
No, I totally agree with what Dave said about the spot. I think this is an awesome spot for Oregon State. Oregon, in addition to just getting destroyed by Utah last week, they're extremely banged up right now. And they're going on a couple weeks of being very banged up. So not only did they get embarrassed, but they're also just like battered in addition to that. And it is like the dream crusher spot for Oregon because they could have played their way into the CFP and now they can't. And if you go back the last few years, I mean, probably the last 5 years, Oregon always seems to lose a game in November to like kill their shot at actually making the playoffs. So in terms of just like being like a dejected team, that's where I see Oregon at right now. And I talked about this last week. I like this Oregon State team quite a bit. They didn't make my card last week, but I have a feeling this one's going to make my client card as a 4 or 5% this week. I think Oregon State's really good, and they have a great offensive line. They're going to be able to run the ball. They should be able to run the ball. They have the top rushing attack in the Pac-12, and if they can just move the chains here and keep that Oregon defense on the field, I think Oregon is going to wear down in this game. So I feel like Oregon State's the right side with the points, and I wouldn't even be that surprised if they win this one outright.
All right, there you go. What do you think, Rob Veno? How do you approach this matchup with these two teams?
Yeah, a couple of things to what these guys have said ahead of me. To Dave's point, my power rating showed Oregon 11.5, not 7. Now, those 11.5 don't factor in the injuries, which I think are major here. But I don't. Even if you bring it down 4.5, the line is fair at this point. Those wide receiver injuries are just killer. I mean, within 5 days, they lost 3 of their best wide receivers on this team. Micah Pittman walks into the transfer portal. Johnny Johnson had an injury prior to the Utah game. They diagnosed him as out for that game last week. And then all of a sudden, Jalen Redd comes down with an injury. And now, the day after the game, Mario Cristobal announces both of them are done for the year. So there's 3 of your best 5. There's 50 catches gone combined. And what they had last week, it showed up last week, right? Devin Williams and Chris Hudson are their guys now. And one's a freshman and one's a sophomore. And the leading receiver on the team at this point in time is a running back, Travis Dye. So Oregon hasn't had a lot of explosiveness like the explosiveness we're used to out of this team. They've got 14 touchdowns in 11 games outside the red zone. Generally, touchdowns outside the red zone, they'd have about 25 by now. But, the quarterback is not an explosive quarterback throwing the football and just hasn't been dynamic downfield. This really turns into run game against run game and run defense against run defense. And I'm not so sure Oregon State's just going to line up and run the football on this team. Oregon's a great rush defense led by Kayvon Thibodeau. Who's to say that Oregon State, a team that stinks on the road this year, they're absolutely terrible on the road, 1-4 against the spread. And their defense, guys, has given up 31, 37, between 31 and 37 on the road to Colorado, to Cal, and to Washington State. So I don't know that it's such an automatic for Oregon State. It's an old adage, and maybe it's a lot of coach speak at times where Big Ten and Pac-12 are concerned. But since I've been alive and watching college football, they'll always tell you that their goal is to get to what used to always be the Rose Bowl, right? Big Ten, Pac-12, and Oregon has that opportunity still. Mario Cristobal said our preseason goals are still ahead of us. Maybe the college football playoff wasn't one of their goals, but once they got to number 3, I'm sure it was. But still, to win the Pac-12 North and compete in the title game, I think to say they'll walk in demoralized and the situation is great, I'm not sure. Like Dave said, you can't guarantee a letdown. But I do think the injuries matter here. And it boils down to run game versus run game. Oregon's going to have to lean on it because the receiving options are limited. Oregon State has leaned on it all season long. Both teams, I mentioned Oregon's run defense, but Oregon State's isn't shabby either. They stop teams on the ground. Only 138 allowed on the ground this year per game. I just don't like Oregon State's road performances. Their dichotomy between home and road is as strong and as divided as any team in the country. They're at home, got no problem playing them, but they're on the road and they've been miserable and they've given up points to lousy offenses this year. So we'll see. I think under, they bet it down real good from 64 to 60.5, but I still think there's value in under 60.5 in a game where I just think it's going to be a lot of handoffs and a lot of good run defense.
We'll see if Oregon can circle the wagons here and get them up for a possible rematch with Utah in the Pac-12 championship. All right, we're going to move on. One final game. Let's take a look here at an in-state rivalry, another in-state rivalry. Robert, throw it in there. How about it? Florida State taking on Florida. And Florida State opens up as a dog in this one. 2 points. Florida laying at 58.5 as an opening total here, Dave. And kind of hard. I mean, where is Florida at as a team right now? I mean, who knows, right?
Well, that's exactly right. And that's why this was a very quick cross out for me. I don't see how you can, you're guessing, strictly guessing. There's guesswork involved in this period. But you add in, if you look at the teams that have had these coaching upheavals in the season, good luck trying to figure out which version of them shows up the next week. There's been some who've come out and played really well. There's been others that have been just horrible. I don't know what to make of Florida here. I mean, I know Florida's better than Florida State on paper. They're clearly better. But the team is a complete mess right now. Florida State is actually trending in the right direction. They've played their best football to the end of the season. In fact, I got to tell you, the fact they won on the road last week in a dead spot at Boston College, that's pretty impressive. So as much as Norvell's got knocked around this year and looked like he was on the hot seat, he's got his team playing good football right now. But I have no idea on how to read Florida. Do they circle the wagons and play a great game in a rivalry? If they do, I mean, if Florida's right, they'll beat Florida State because they got more talent. But there's just no way I can guarantee that. I can't even begin to speculate on what's going to happen. It's a big pass for me. There's no chance I'm getting involved in this game. And I don't see how anybody can, but maybe the other two guys can come up with something good.
Yeah, I mean, Anna, it was a head scratcher at the Missouri game last week. The Florida State win against Boston College was a great win for them. I mean, all signs pointing up for Florida State, which is good. So, given recent performance, I guess we got to say, Florida State in better form right now?
Well, they are. And, from a motivation standpoint, you probably have to look at Florida State because, neither of these teams, neither of these schools probably really care about being 6-6 and getting to a bowl game. But Florida State started 0-4. And you can tell that this team has definitely rallied around turning it around a little bit. But like Dave said, the way I look at this, Florida's the far superior team. It's just a matter if they're going to show up and play like it or not. Florida's pass rush should get home here. I think that the Florida defensive line should win the battle against the Florida State offensive line. And if Florida State has a hard time running here, I don't think they can beat Florida. So I think just from a matchup standpoint, I lean Florida, but I think I would be just hoping they show up. And so for that reason, I don't know if it'll make my card, but so a lean here to Florida. I think they're the better team. and I just have a feeling they win this game, but there's just too much uncertainty for me to give like a strong conviction on this one.
Florida State, 5 of 7, Rob, since that 0-4 start. I mean, they are certainly rolling in the right direction. A win kind of guarantees them a bowl appearance here, too. But you don't often have to get up with Florida State, no matter what the season's been like. These kids all know each other. They don't like each other. So it is a rivalry game, after all. Does that help persuade you one way or the other?
Well, I think it's why there might be some motivation on both sides here, right? Because they both sit at 5 wins. This triangle of Florida State, Miami of Florida, they all dislike each other to a maximum level. And each team wants to keep the other team home for the postseason, would be the motivation. Keep Florida State out. I think it's stronger on Florida State's side because Florida State's already beaten Miami. You know, if I just compare it to the Commander-in-Chief's trophy with Army, Air Force, Navy, Florida State, Miami. Florida State wins this whole thing because they've already beaten Miami. So if they win here, they go 2-0 against these guys. So it's big for them. The Florida game last week, Joe, you're right. Head scratching in a million ways, because this is a Florida team that could not stop the run at all. And all of a sudden they shut Missouri down, running the football, shut them down cold. And Tyler Beatty's one of the best running backs in the country for Mizzou, but Mizzou had nowhere to go on the ground. So from that angle, it was kind of puzzling. Where'd they come up with this run defense? Then they've got a run offense that goes for about 200 a game, and they can only get 92 against Missouri, a team that hadn't stopped a handoff in 11 weeks. And you wonder, how did that happen? So I don't know what to make. You know, maybe Florida was playing for that 6th win last week. They played hard. Defensively, at least, they played way harder than we'd seen them play before. And, you know, just being close to the Mizzou program, they've made a couple of adjustments on the defensive side of the football, and maybe that's why Florida didn't run it well. Not sure how to explain any of it. But I do know, like you guys have said, the team coaching-wise in disarray. No Dan Mullen. 3 weeks ago, you fired Todd Grantham. Now you're going to have an interim head coach who's your running back special teams guy. I think that just the fact that it's Florida State, both sides come to play. From there, I think that you look at perceived value, and 2 points, it wouldn't have been 2 points 2 weeks ago. Power ratings say that it should be 8. Power ratings don't take into account any of the intangibles that we're talking about here. So I don't know. Honestly, I think if you're just playing strict value, one team's talent against another team's talent, and I only have to lay 2, all right, I'll take Florida. If you want to take the team maybe with a little more motivation and the team that's playing better at this point in time, then you want Florida State. So I'm kind of in line with both of these guys where too hard to make a play. Total might be worth a shot up and over because I don't know that either defense is capable here. But again, we'll have to see. I mean, it's probably a game best left for in-game betting, to tell you the truth.
Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I mean, the Swamp, not an easy place to play regardless, but, you know, usually when a coach gets fired during the season, one of the coordinators takes over, but you shit can both of them too, so I don't even know who's in charge of Florida. I have no idea. All right, guys, it is best bet time here. We'll take a look on the card here on the board if there's maybe one of these games you guys are leaning towards a little bit more than the others. Dave, I'll come to you. Which one are you looking at?
Well, I'll go with Oregon State, and it's not on my card. I got 3 games that I played tomorrow. Notre Dame's one of them. I did videos on that all week, and so you can have that. That's the best bet. So you've got that one. Among these, I mean, I definitely considered Oregon State. I just decided not to play it because it's such an obvious spot. I mean, and these actually haven't worked very well this year. That's been one of the weird things about the 2021 college football season is a lot of really good situational spots that are tried and true. They just haven't worked this season. And I've kind of learned that lesson the hard way because I do like situational spots in college football. And They just haven't gotten there, and it had another one today. I mean, I should have won it with Kansas State. They found a way not to win the game against a Texas team that had lost 6 in a row and is going absolutely nowhere, and really didn't play a particularly good game, and yet Texas finds a way to win. So I'm gun shy on actually betting the game tomorrow, but from a situational standpoint, it's all Oregon State, so I'll make them the best bet here on the show.
Okay, Oregon State it is. Talk to me, Trig. Which one of these you leaning towards?
Well, I'm leaning toward Oregon State as well, but Dave just gave it out, so I'm going to give out my 4% pick for tonight. So my best bet, I'll go rogue here and go off the board. It's going to be North Carolina. I think so. That is my 4% play. So if you bought it, DM me and I'll get you a different one. But yeah, I'll just keep it short and sweet here. I don't think North Carolina is 6 points, I don't think NC State is 6 points better than North Carolina. And if we are going off of what these teams are supposed to be this season, this game probably would have been a pick in this spot. North Carolina obviously hasn't been what they were expected to be, but they've actually played some really good teams down the stretch. They probably should have beat Pitt. They beat Wake Forest, and they were right in that Notre Dame game. So I just think North Carolina, Howell's back. They really had a week off last week. They played Wofford, but they rested a bunch of guys. And it's a big rivalry game. And that's what it comes down to this week of the season. You're going to get some weird results, and you're going to get teams that show up and care about the rivalry games. So I'll take North Carolina +6, and I think they have a really good chance to win.
All right, there you go. Rivalry week, always fun to try to figure it out there. Rob, how about you? Which way you leaning here?
Yeah, it's funny, Joe. All three of us gravitated to the same game. I just take a chance in Oregon State. I like under 60.5. Again, it's a game where the ground games are going to be leaned upon. 2 good rush defenses, not real explosive pass games on either side. Oregon, in their 11 games, has played 7 of those underneath 60.5 points. Pretty high percentage for an Oregon team, which, as I said earlier, just hasn't had the explosiveness that they've had in previous seasons. Oregon State just not the same on the road as they are at home. There's rain expected throughout the first 3 quarters of this game, which could hinder the passing games, which are average at best to begin with. It'll lighten up fourth quarter probably a little bit with the rain, but I just see this as being, and again, it's got meaning. So Mario Cristobal is a guy who tends to play things very conservative and close to the vest. I think that's the way he'll play it here. I like under 60.5. A lot's been taken out of this number, chewed down from 64 to 60.5, but I'll still take it under 60.5.
Yep, certainly could be a grind out type of game for sure, guys. But there you got it. Quick reminder also, Dave Cokin has his 5% NFL best bet. He's been red hot in the NFL. The bet is locked and loaded over at WagerTalk.com, as is Rob Veno's and Adam Trigger's. They are ready to go here, guys, on what is going to be a huge weekend in the world of sports. And take advantage, of course, of the Black Friday deal while you can. Thanks 30 will get you 30% off any package that we have. That's $149 or more. So you're talking about 30-day all-access packages. The rest of NBA, college basketball season, NHL, I mean, you name it, the opportunity to save 30% here on Black Friday. It happens now. Includes all their 5% plays, guys. It's a great opportunity to get on board. Save the 30%. Thanks 30 at checkout. Use that code. And we'll recap the week of best bets that we have had here on the show, starting on Tuesday with Trig and Mississippi State, and Brian Leonard with Michigan first quarter. Cokin, San Diego State. That's a winner here.
Winner.
Yep, winner, chicken dinner. Drew Martin, Oklahoma State against OU. Ralph likes Penn State. And you heard it here today. Trig's giving out that 4% play of his right now. Take the 6, UNC, NC State. Veno says take the under, Oregon State, Oregon. And Dave, he's leading Oregon State plus the points. There you got it here, guys, on this Black Friday. Take advantage. Thanks 30 at checkout at WagerTalk.com. And on behalf of Adam Trigger, Rob Veno, and Dave Cokin, guys, thanks for hanging with us. Best of luck here this week, and come back and join us next week as we get ready for championship week in college football. Good luck to you guys. We'll talk to you again soon.
A Black Friday quiz, which is better? 1, paying $3.49 for a 1 month all access, or 2, paying $244.30 for 1 month all access. The day after Thanksgiving, we want to continue giving thanks by giving all of our customers 30% off anything priced at $149 or more. A Black Friday sale was always a once-a-year chance to buy something at big discount, and this is it. Even better, we are running this promotion